ARMY crying. Jin's condition is very concerning. Jungkook and Jimin panic. The world of K-pop was left in collective shock when BTS's Jin appeared at the group's long-awaited reunion with his hand tightly wrapped in heavy bandages. What should have been a moment of pure celebration turned into an unsettling spectacle that has sparked waves of concern among fans and observers alike. Why did Jin choose to appear despite his visible injury? What exactly happened to him? And why did the atmosphere of joy suddenly shift into a climate of panic when Jungkook and Jimin noticed his obvious discomfort? The reunion was anticipated as a milestone, an event where all BTS members, separated for long stretches of time due to personal schedules and military service, finally stood together again. Fans around the globe had counted down to this moment, expecting only laughter, nostalgia, and unity. Yet the image of Jin, smiling faintly but clutching his injured hand, immediately changed the tone. His silence regarding the cause only magnified speculation. Could his condition be temporary, or does it point to something far more serious? Those present could not ignore the reactions of Jungkook and Jimin, whose expressions betrayed immediate alarm when they noticed Jin's state. The normally light-hearted atmosphere shifted into a mixture of panic and unease. Both members, visibly unsettled, hovered around him with concern that seemed almost instinctive. Their protective presence told a story without words. Jin's health was not just a passing worry, but something demanding urgent attention. Observers who analyzed the reunion's recordings quickly noticed the details. Jin's posture seemed carefully controlled, as if every movement was calculated to avoid pain. His smile appeared genuine but restrained, his attempts at normalcy undermined by the subtle stiffness in his body language. Each time he lifted his hand, he did so with delicate caution, reinforcing suspicions that the injury was not minor. What was intended to be a joyous symbol of brotherhood has instead become a haunting reminder of the vulnerability of even the most iconic idols. Fans online immediately erupted with questions. Was Jin recovering from an accident, or had the relentless demands of training and schedules taken their toll? Was the bandage concealing something more severe, perhaps even a medical condition that has not been disclosed? The lack of clarity has created a storm of speculation, each theory more alarming than the last. ARMY, BTS's global fanbase, has been vocal in both their support and their fear, urging Jin to prioritize his health, yet also expressing gratitude for his courage to attend. The symbolism of his presence cannot be overlooked. To many, Jin's appearance, despite the injury, represents unwavering dedication. His decision to stand alongside his group despite visible pain is being interpreted as an act of resilience and loyalty not only to BTS but also to millions of fans worldwide. However, this same act raises troubling questions. Did Jin feel truly free to rest, or did the immense expectations of global stardom leave him no choice but to appear? Was his attendance a personal decision, or was it a sacrifice compelled by the unrelenting pressure to never disappoint? Jungkook and Jimin's visible panic adds another layer to the unfolding drama. Both are known for their closeness to Jin, yet their reactions went beyond casual concern. Observers noted how Jimin lingered near him, eyes constantly scanning his condition, while Jungkook, normally composed, seemed momentarily shaken. Their behavior suggested that Jin's injury might not have been as trivial as some hoped. Instead, it painted a picture of members caught between the happiness of reunion and the dread of seeing their brother in possible distress. The event has since triggered broader conversations about the idol industry's demands. How much must artists endure to maintain appearances? How many times must they suppress their pain to preserve the image of strength? Jin's injury, whether temporary or not, has reignited debates about the hidden toll of stardom, the sacrifices idols make, and the blurred line between commitment and compulsion. Fans, analysts, and cultural commentators alike have noted that this moment is not just about one man's bandaged hand, but about the entire system that produces such moments of conflict between health and obligation. The emotional weight of this incident is undeniable. ARMY members who had waited for months, even years, to see the group together again found themselves torn between joy and sorrow. The euphoria of seeing BTS reunited collided with the grim reality of Jin's condition, transforming what was meant to be a purely celebratory occasion into something far more complex. The reunion was supposed to remind the world of BTS's unity and endurance, but now it is remembered equally as a moment of fragility. Photographs of Jin's bandaged hand have circulated endlessly, dissected frame by frame as fans search for clues. Some believe the injury is minor, perhaps a sprain or temporary strain. Others fear it could indicate a deeper issue, one that may affect his ability to perform in the future. The uncertainty itself is what has fueled the most anxiety. In the absence of answers, imagination takes hold, amplifying fear and speculation. Beyond speculation, the symbolism of the bandage has resonated deeply. It is more than a medical covering. It has become an emblem of sacrifice and hidden struggle. For many, it represents the countless invisible pains that idols endure away from the public eye, both physical and emotional. Jin's injury, though visible, points to the unseen costs of global stardom. His quiet courage in facing the moment embodies the paradox of greatness, triumph coexisting with fragility, loyalty intertwined with suffering. Social media platforms remain flooded with emotional reactions. Some fans call Jin's presence an act of inspiration, a reminder that resilience can prevail even in adversity. Others express anguish, demanding that he withdraw from public events until he fully recovers. This divide among fans reflects the very tension that defines the incident: admiration for his strength, but fear for his well-being. The dissonance between the reunion's atmosphere and Jin's condition deepened the impact. Surrounded by laughter, joy, and brotherhood, the bandaged hand stood out like an unspoken truth. It revealed the reality beneath the polished surface, a reminder that idols are not invincible. Even in moments designed for celebration, pain can intrude. This duality, joy alongside fragility, struck a chord that resonates far beyond fandom. Speculation about Jin's choice to attend despite his injury continues to grow. Did he come out of genuine desire, or was it a response to unspoken obligations? For a group like BTS, where even the smallest absence can spark rumors of division, the pressure to appear united is immense. Perhaps Jin's attendance was not only about loyalty but also about protecting the group from speculation. Ironically, his attempt to shield BTS from doubt has instead magnified global concern. The future now feels uncertain. Will Jin's condition improve quickly, or will it reveal long-term complications? Will BTS be able to balance their personal well-being with the unrelenting expectations of a global stage? And most haunting of all, how long can idols sustain such sacrifices before the cost becomes irreparable? What remains undeniable is the admiration for Jin's determination. Despite his condition, he stood tall among his brothers, refusing to let pain separate him from them. His quiet act of endurance resonates as a powerful testament to loyalty. Yet at the same time, it has forced fans to confront a sobering truth. Even legends are not immune to the weight of human vulnerability. The reunion, once expected to be defined solely by joy, will now be remembered as something far more complex. It is both a celebration and a warning, a testament to strength and a reminder of fragility. Jin's bandaged hand is no longer just a detail. It has become a symbol, a question mark, and perhaps even a turning point in BTS's journey, and so the image lingers. Jin standing among his brothers, hand-bound, face composed, Jungkook and Jimin beside him in visible concern. It is a moment that will not soon fade from memory. For ARMY, it is a haunting question left unanswered. How long can their idols endure such sacrifices? And at what cost will their unity continue to shine? For many, the aftermath of this moment has become more significant than the reunion itself. Discussions among fans no longer revolve solely around upcoming projects or nostalgic memories, but around the health and future of Jin. Panic on Jungkook and Jimin's faces has become as iconic as the bandage itself, symbolizing the brotherhood that defines BTS. Their concern mirrored the emotions of millions who now wonder whether unity should ever come at the cost of suffering. In this silence, the unanswered questions grow louder. Will Jin be given the time he needs to heal fully, or will the cycle of expectation continue to press him forward regardless of the risk? The reunion was meant to be remembered for laughter and celebration, but it has instead become a striking reminder that even in moments of triumph, shadows remain. The bandage on Jin's hand is more than a physical sign. It is a warning, a symbol, and a question that still hangs unanswered. In the days that follow, ARMY continues to replay the moment, unwilling to let go of their concern. Every detail of Jin's appearance has been magnified, every gesture dissected. What lingers most is the silence. No explanation, no reassurance, only the image of resilience shadowed by fragility. For many, that silence is the loudest sound of all. The shocking image of Jin appearing with his hand bound in bandages continues to circulate across every platform imaginable. Yet a pressing question arises. Do we truly know what we witnessed, or are we trapped inside a carefully engineered spectacle designed to elicit emotion and dominate headlines? The distinction between reality and narrative has become blurred. Are fans responding to genuine vulnerability, or are they reacting to a staged moment deliberately orchestrated to heighten attention? When Jungkook and Jimin displayed visible panic, was this the spontaneous reaction of two men witnessing their brother's suffering, or was it an intentional performance amplified by cameras and angles? Can audiences trust what they saw, or should they question the very foundation of these visuals? If we admit that our perceptions are filtered through social media, edited clips, and fragmented narratives, how confident can anyone be that they are responding to truth rather than a constructed illusion? This incident, though emotionally powerful, compels us to ask whether sensationalism has become inseparable from celebrity culture. The bandaged hand was undeniably real, but was its meaning exaggerated by platforms eager for virality? Could this image, circulated endlessly on TikTok, YouTube, and Twitter, be serving not only as a symbol of sacrifice but also as a carefully planted device to sustain global attention? Should ARMY accept this portrayal at face value, or must they interrogate its origins, consider the timing of the reunion? Why did this gathering occur precisely when anticipation was at its peak? Why did the emotional climax hinge on a visible injury that instantly reframed the event from celebration to crisis? Could the incident have been magnified deliberately, ensuring that headlines would not merely celebrate a reunion but also provoke endless speculation about fragility and resilience? If so, are fans participants in an authentic moment, or are they subjects of strategic manipulation? The emotional intensity cannot be denied, yet sincerity and strategy often coexist. Does Jin's decision to appear despite his bandaged hand reflect his true loyalty to the group, or could it also represent compliance with the unspoken demands of an industry that thrives on dramatic contrasts? The industry repeatedly proves that vulnerability sells as much as triumph. Should audiences therefore pause before interpreting his presence as pure selflessness, and instead examine whether vulnerability itself has been commodified? When ARMY wept at the sight of Jin's condition, were they responding to him, or to the narrative imposed upon them by media frames? Social media thrives on amplification. TikTok loops his gestures, YouTube thumbnails freeze on his strained smile, Twitter captions exaggerate with dramatic language. How much of the concern arises from the actual injury, and how much from the algorithmic echo chamber that rewards outrage and sorrow? If media thrives on reaction, do fans risk becoming instruments in sustaining a cycle of perpetual concern? The silence surrounding the true cause of Jin's bandaged hand is perhaps the most powerful element. But should silence be interpreted as evidence of seriousness, or as an intentional void created to trigger speculation? Absence of information compels audiences to invent their own narratives. Could this very absence be the mechanism through which emotion is manufactured? When every photo becomes a puzzle and every gesture becomes a clue, are fans genuinely seeking truth, or are they unknowingly participating in a performance scripted by uncertainty? Critically, one must ask, is the panic of Jungkook and Jimin undeniable proof of authenticity, or could their reactions have been intensified by awareness of the cameras trained on them? In an environment where every movement is scrutinized, is it possible that even natural concern transforms into spectacle the moment it is observed? If visibility itself alters behavior, then can any public reaction be considered entirely authentic? These questions strike at the core of the event. Was this a genuine crisis of health, or was it a dramatic tableau serving as commentary on sacrifice and endurance? If it was genuine, then the industry must answer for placing performance above well-being. If it was staged, then fans must reflect on their complicity in consuming narratives that exploit vulnerability for attention. Which possibility is more unsettling? That Jin truly suffers in silence, or that his suffering has been turned into a tool of spectacle? Furthermore, the context of the sources must be interrogated. Information about this incident did not arrive through medical briefings or official transparency, but through clips, tweets, and speculative commentary from TikTok, YouTube, Twitter, and countless fan accounts. Are these reliable channels of truth, or do they exist to recycle fragments into sensational headlines? If verification is absent, how can anyone claim certainty? Should ARMY demand concrete evidence before surrendering to despair? Or is the very ambiguity part of what sustains their emotional investment? The very act of questioning may feel uncomfortable, yet it is necessary. Do fans truly benefit from accepting every detail as fact, or does blind acceptance only perpetuate cycles of manipulation? When the line between fact and fiction is blurred, who controls the narrative? The idols themselves, the industry, or the collective imagination of fans amplified by algorithms? If ARMY's tears are genuine, who profits from those tears? This incident may thus serve as a mirror reflecting the broader relationship between idols and their audience. Is ARMY's devotion empowering, or has it become a resource to be harvested through moments of engineered vulnerability? Each replayed clip, each viral headline, each trending hashtag feeds into an ecosystem where sincerity and sensationalism are indistinguishable. In this context, the critical question becomes, do fans protect their idols by amplifying concern, or do they unknowingly deepen the very pressures that harm them? The haunting image of Jeon with his bandaged hand, flanked by Jungkook and Jimin's visible alarm, will not soon fade. But its permanence does not prove its authenticity. Instead, it compels a deeper reflection. Is this memory a record of truth or a construction born of spectacle? Fans cannot answer. Does it reveal the profound fragility of trust between public figures and their global audiences? Readers must now confront themselves with the most difficult questions. Do you believe this incident unfolded exactly as it appeared? Or do you suspect it may have been shaped, exaggerated, or even fabricated for dramatic effect? Does your reaction reveal solidarity with Jeon, or does it reveal susceptibility to media manipulation? How often do we mistake emotional provocation for truth? How often do we forget that visibility itself is a form of performance? The implications reach beyond BTS. They extend to every corner of celebrity culture where health, vulnerability, and sacrifice are displayed before millions. If audiences do not cultivate skepticism, then who will safeguard idols from being consumed by the very narratives that claim to celebrate them? Conversely, if audiences dismiss every event as fabrication, do they risk invalidating the genuine struggles that idols endure? Which mistake is greater, to believe too much or to doubt too quickly? As this moment continues to reverberate, ARMY faces not only the concern for Jeon but also a challenge to their own perception. To what extent are they participants in truth, and to what extent are they participants in a story told for them? Is their devotion empowering their idols, or is it enabling the machinery of spectacle? Does the weight of their reaction protect Jeon, or does it reinforce the pressure that compelled him to appear despite his condition? The questions remain unresolved, and perhaps they will never be fully answered. But their persistence is crucial. In a media landscape where fact and fiction are woven together seamlessly, the responsibility of skepticism lies with the audience. Every fan must decide. Do they accept the narrative as presented, or do they step back, analyze, and resist the pull of sensationalism? Ultimately, the haunting power of Jin's bandaged hand lies not only in what it may signify for him but in what it reveals about us. Are we witnesses of truth or consumers of illusion? Are we protectors of idols or participants in their exploitation? And above all, are we willing to ask the uncomfortable questions, even when the answers threaten the very foundation of what we believe? The unresolved nature of this event now places responsibility directly upon the audience. Will ARMY choose to treat Jin's bandaged hand as unquestionable truth, or will they interrogate its context, its timing, and its presentation? The distinction matters. Blind belief can fuel exploitation, yet relentless skepticism can erode empathy. Where does the balance lie? Each fan must ask whether their reaction stems from genuine solidarity or from being swept into the momentum of viral sensationalism. The repetition of this moment across TikTok, YouTube, and Twitter ensures that it becomes larger than reality itself. But should repetition be mistaken for evidence? Should virality be mistaken for truth? As long as silence persists and official clarity remains absent, every interpretation is provisional, every conclusion uncertain. Perhaps the most haunting element of all is not Jin's visible injury, but the reflection it forces upon his audience. What do we truly know, and how much of what we feel has been shaped for us rather than by us? The silence surrounding Jin's condition is more than just an absence of information. It has become an active presence, a force that shapes the way the entire narrative unfolds. In the world of celebrity culture, silence is rarely neutral. It is strategic, deliberate, and often more powerful than words themselves. By refusing to clarify, by allowing the bandages to speak louder than any statement, Jin and the machinery around him have created a vacuum into which every possible interpretation can be poured. Fans speculate, the media speculates, commentators speculate, and in the end, silence transforms into the most effective amplifier of attention. But silence also carries a cruel weight. For ARMY, who have built their identity around trust and emotional connection with BTS, the lack of explanation feels like betrayal wrapped in ambiguity. Their loyalty demands clarity, yet their devotion compels them to respect privacy. This tension is unbearable. To demand truth risks violating boundaries, but to accept silence risks enabling exploitation. Thus, the audience is left stranded between two impossible choices, neither of which offers peace. The dynamics between Jin, Jungkook, and Jimin add further complexity. Their visible reactions have been interpreted as evidence of authenticity, yet within the context of global visibility, even authenticity becomes suspect. A lingering gaze, a trembling hand, a worried expression, each can be magnified infinitely by the lens of fandom, each can be transformed into proof of sincerity or evidence of performance. What happens when even the most intimate gestures of concern are commodified, looped endlessly on TikTok, framed by dramatic captions on YouTube and dissected in Twitter threads? Concern itself becomes a product, sold and consumed under the guise of empathy. Perhaps this is the greatest paradox of the incident. Fans long for authenticity, yet every mechanism they use to witness it inevitably turns authenticity into spectacle. To see is already to distort. To share is already to exaggerate. To care is already to consume. This cycle is inescapable, and Jin's bandaged hand has become the latest symbol of this paradox. The industry, of course, thrives in this paradox. Vulnerability sells. Pain sells. The image of Jin standing with his hand bound, flanked by two visibly shaken bandmates, is infinitely more viral than a simple image of 7 men laughing together. The narrative of suffering, whether real or perceived, resonates far more deeply than narratives of stability. It is no accident that the human heart is drawn to fragility. It is in fragility that we recognize our own humanity mirrored back at us. But when fragility itself becomes a marketing tool, who pays the price? The idol, whose suffering may be genuine, or the audience, whose emotions are manipulated into perpetual engagement? This moment also raises questions about the ethics of fandom. What does it mean to love an idol? Is love expressed through unwavering concern, through constant surveillance of their well-being? Or does true love mean granting them the privacy to heal, even if silence leaves fans in anguish? ARMY's devotion has always been their strength, but could it also be their weakness? By amplifying every detail of Jin's injury, they keep the wound alive, refusing to let it fade, refusing to let it heal in obscurity. Their love may sustain him, but it may also imprison him in endless cycles of scrutiny. And then there is the larger cultural question: why do we demand so much from those we idolize? Why must Jin appear at the reunion at all? Why must he smile through pain, conceal his struggle behind polished composure, and transform his injury into a symbol of resilience? Perhaps it is not only the industry but also the fans themselves who compel this cycle. For in the world of global stardom, absence is unforgivable. Silence is suspicious. Vulnerability must always be translated into narrative. Jin may have attended not only out of loyalty to BTS, but out of fear that his absence would create an even greater spectacle than his injured presence. Truth is that no answer will satisfy. If Jin's injury is revealed to be minor, fans will feel foolish for their tears, manipulated by spectacle. If it is revealed to be serious, fans will feel guilty for having demanded his presence. And if no answer comes at all, the speculation will continue indefinitely, a wound that never closes because it is never allowed to. What, then, is left for the audience? Perhaps only reflection. the bandaged hand is no longer merely Jin's. It belongs to everyone who has seen it, shared it, wept over it. It is a mirror reflecting the contradictions of fandom and celebrity culture. Forces us to confront the uncomfortable truth that our desire for connection can also become a form of consumption, that our cries for protection can also become chains of expectation. The future of BTS will not be determined by a single bandaged hand, but this moment will remain etched into their history as a turning point. May inspire deeper conversations about health, about the pressures of visibility, about the blurred line between performance and reality. Or it may fade into the endless archive of viral moments, replaced by the next spectacle. But for those who lived through it, those who saw Jin standing, smiling faintly, hand wrapped in silence, it will remain unforgettable. The image will linger not only as a memory but as a question, haunting and unresolved. What price are we willing to let our idols pay for our devotion? And perhaps even more unsettling, what price are we as fans willing to pay for the comfort of believing that what we see is real?